Let's go back to our design view here, and let's assign some names to these items over here, because we will need to mention those variable names in our code. So here in the ID section, you'll see the name that was assigned to that item. In this case, it says text view 2. I'm just going to change this to display text, or let's just make it main text. Okay, so now we're renaming this from text view 2 to main text. We're just going to click refactor to rename it. And now the name that was given was edit text person name, which is way too long. So I'm just going to make this edit text. And then hit enter. And then finally, for this button over here, the name here seems fine. So I'll just leave it as button. Should be okay. So let's go back to our code view. So we're going to find those items that were on our view by typing find view by ID. These are the ones that we just created. So the first one was main text. And now we're going to assign this to a variable. Let's just call this my main text. And we have to give this variable a type. So the type of this was a text view. And we have this in red because we haven't imported that yet. So we're just going to hover over it and then we'll see the import class here. So automatically import the text view for us. And now our main text is connected to our code here. So now let's connect this as well. The name was edit text. So we're going to go back to our code. And then just like previously, we're going to say find view by ID. The type of the second widget is an edit text. The type of our third widget is a button, which I'm just going to call my button. So if you notice, we have some red underlines here, and that can simply be resolved by just clicking build and then click rebuild project. Okay, so now that we have these variables, let's write some code for what will happen when a button is clicked. So we're going to call our my button variable. This button should have a lot of different functions or methods, but the one that we're interested in is the on click, specifically the set on click listener. So we're going to click that and then put new, and then the one we're going to select is the view on click listener. So essentially when a button is clicked, whatever we put in here is the action that is going to be performed. So I'm just going to put a comment here. There's actually a much easier way to do this, okay? Because realistically, you're probably not going to remember all of this text over here. There's a shorter way of doing this. The only code we need to type is my button dot set on click listener, and then view, and then the arrow, and then this. So as you can see, this is much easier to remember. Okay, so I mentioned that we want to change the main text to something else, okay, instead of hello world. So I'm going to call my main text variable, and this main text object has a function called set text, and I can provide any string in here. So for instance, I can just say works. So now let me just run our code just to see if this button click action is working. So once again, I'm going to click this icon over here to run the app. So now if I click this button over here, this text should change. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. And perfect, it works. So originally I said whatever text that we enter in here in this field is what I want this to show. In that case, I'm going to get the content of this field right here. And that's what I'm going to set the text as instead of this works over here. So first, let's get the content. So instead of assigning this to a variable, I'm just going to put that directly in here. So now I'm just assigning whatever text I get from this to our main text. So let's go ahead and rerun our app. So I just typed this as my first app. And now when I click the button, as you can see, the content of this text right here has been updated. So we actually covered quite a lot here. Even though this is a very simple app, it showed us how to use constraints, how to add items to our view over here. And most importantly, we learned how to use the content of that view inside our code here to perform some actions. So first, we are connecting that view to our code by using this set content view method. And then we're getting the elements or widgets that are on that view and assigning it to variables by using this find view by ID. And then finally, we're calling the set on click listener function on our button to detect when the button is clicked and to perform this action when the button is clicked. So next, we're going to create a random number generator.